Today my guest is Gagan, and she's in the United Kingdom, and I've got a little story to share before I introduce her. So she's a member of Rheumatoid Support, and she sent me an update. I hadn't heard from her prior to this, and her update was very long. So she was providing me with a lot of background about her symptoms, how they started, and how they progressed very severely, and her meeting with her rheumatologist, and so on. And we're about to hear about all this in just a moment. And I was expecting at the end a long list of questions. So, Clint, what should I do? So how do I overcome this challenge and this challenge, which is normal for people wanting, to use the service and to get my feedback on their situation. But as the long post got longer and longer, I'm realizing, hang on, she's telling a story of recovery here. And when we got when I got right to the end of reading, I found out that she has nothing to ask of me other than to tell me an incredible story. And I immediately replied to her and said, please, can you come on the podcast and share this, because this is remarkable. And here she is today. So she was diagnosed with palindromic rheumatoid arthritis, a seropositive case. So she had positive rheumatoid factor and positive anti-CCP markers. And she's about to tell us today how she has not only removed the symptoms of this condition, but has reversed her anti-CCP markers in her blood work. And so it's a great thrill to welcome her today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you ever so much. And firstly, the reason for the essay was the thanks. I was so grateful that you had turned my life completely around and given me many, many more years of quality life, that I was like, I've come through this story. I've got to thank the guy that's, has guided me through this process. It's been amazing.
Well, one of the by far the best part of, having a service where we help people with this condition is hearing the successes. And so, I'll probably be smiling throughout this entire interview. Because this stuff is so real. This isn't like, you bought a car and you love your car and it gives you some pleasure. This is like debilitating, life ruining, just family impacting, life limiting, just all encompassing health condition that has been influenced so strongly through lifestyle changes that are based on research, and they have provided you with the outcome that you've so desperately wanted. And I know some people listen to these or watch all these episodes and feel frustrated sometimes that they don't get the same results as our guests. And so what I want people to keep in mind as they watch or listen to this episode is not to make comparisons and be disappointed if you aren't further along the path than you want to be, but just look for insights and look for solutions that we might cover here that you can apply at your stage of your journey that's relevant for you. So that's what I'm hoping, and that it becomes inspirational. So let's hear about, walk us through the sequence of events for your health, both deterioration and then the start of the interventions.
Right. So I started having mild symptoms after the birth of my second child back in August 2014. At that time, I didn't connect it with any kind of chronic condition or anything. It was lower back pain. I would get my knees would hurt at times. My heel would hurt. My hip would hurt. But it wasn't debilitating in any kind of way. And this kind of rumbled along for a couple of years. Until I got a viral stomach bug, from which I was extremely unwell, and I just could not bounce back as such. So the virus was in October 2017, and by Christmas of that year, I couldn't walk more than 100 meters. I couldn't climb stairs. I had extreme fatigue. I had pain everywhere. I was extremely depressed, very anxious. I could no longer drive. My neck was really bad. I was a danger onto other people. That I couldn't do the school run. I had 2 small children to look after, and I was sleeping probably 12 to 14 hours a day, and again not being able to do much. I was just kind of pottering around the house. That was the maximum mobility that I had at the time.
Wow.
So I then saw my GP before Christmas, and she sent me for some basic blood tests, and she said my inflammatory markers were raised. I had low vitamin D. I went down to 13, and she said it would be good to speak to a rheumatologist and then go from there. I didn't get the rheumatology appointment until March the following year through the NHS. But on visiting her again, she took my bloods. I had a positive rheumatoid factor, positive anti-CCP, elevated CRP levels, and it was palindromic rheumatoid arthritis. And her advice was to take aggressive early action in the form of a steroid injection, which she gave me on the spot. And she prescribed hydroxychloroquine to take, and then come back and see her in a few months' time. Mm-hmm. So me and my husband, we were attended this appointment, and even at the time he did ask the question, has diet got anything to do with this? And she confidently said no. She goes, exercise and eating healthily is good enough, but diet's really not going to make any significant changes. It's the medication that's really going to help you. And we knew next to nothing about RA at the time. I didn't know anybody personally within my close family that had suffered from it. I had memories of it, and a friend of mine whose aunt had it, I remember as a child. A distant relative I had known of a young person who had it, but they had kind of helped. They'd had some advice on diet, and they had improved. But other than that, it was a very scarce knowledge. So my husband, he took to scouring the internet. I wasn't kind of up to it at the time. Even I was so depressed, and so just had so much brain fog. Even trying to look for solutions were very difficult at the time. And so my husband, and he found your TED talk, and that was a turning point. And luckily, it was literally within a few days of the diagnosis. And he had a chemistry background himself, and he was like, "Oh, I think this guy makes sense. This is what we need to do." And so by Good Friday, we had a long Easter weekend. So for practical reasons, we packed off the kids, sent them to the grandparents, and we started the detox. So it was the celery juice and the lots of greens.
I get goosebumps. I'm seriously, I just get goosebumps thinking about it, because anyone who's not experienced the 2-day cleanse of celery juice and cucumber juice, I mean, the pain reduction is like, for most people, a little disclaimer there, for most people, is phenomenal. So I'm hoping that you'll also share that was your experience.
Yes,
because,
it was. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Within those days itself, my body just started to shrink. I didn't realize how swollen my knees were until they started to shrink. And I was like, I didn't even know they were that swollen. My hip, my whole body started to shrink. I was dropping in the weight, and I had just thought I was still carrying my baby weight from my second child. And I didn't realize that I could shrink so much within a matter of days. And the fatigue was lifting, the pain was reducing. It was like magic. And what also was that when you have RA and you don't know what your triggers are, every morning you get up is a surprise. You don't know whether you're going to have a good day, you're going to have a bad day, how you're going to feel, where the pain is going to be in your body. It's like stabbing in the dark. It's a complete mystery. But once I started on the program, I had this newfound predictability that if I'm sticking with these basic foods, I've got an idea of what tomorrow's going to be like. And it continued like that. And I was like, okay, I'm just eating very basic foods, but it's worth it. My life is changing. It was incredible.
That was my experience, which was that you're desperate for some certainty. You're desperate
Yes.
for some repeatability and predictability. These words you don't have when you're just
Yeah.
having like this random concept of flares and no
Yeah.
cause inflammation. What we want so desperately when we're inflamed and in pain and just hurting and miserable and lacking hope is that we can have day after day where it's consistent and predictable because you feel a sense of control. And that is
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't attend social events because you'll put something in the diary and you never know what you're going to be like that day, and then people think you're just bailing on them left, right, and center, and you just cannot plan your life. And when you're at a state where I was kind of stuck indoors, I couldn't do the school run, I couldn't walk 100 meters, even during the day when I would have to cook for a little bit, sit down, get up again. I was living a very, very compromised life, and I was like, I can't plan to do anything. I don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. The future was so unknown. I was like, what am I going to be like when my children are older? How am I going to raise them?
Yeah.
When I've got, I was requiring help from my husband, my in-laws, my parents, and I can't raise my kids. I can't help my kids, but I'm dependent on other people's help.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't live like this.
Yeah, the fear really digs deep when you project into the future and you think, okay, where will I be in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Where am I going to be in 10 years? And this is, I see this in the US advertising for some of the big biologic drugs here, and they use this, they know about this fear. We all have this fear about how our joints going to deteriorate and what will they look like and feel like and how will they serve us in the future.
Yeah.
And it's that future projection and bringing those images forward into the present moment that scares the living heck out of us. And so, this is it's not fictitious. I mean, these things happen. If the disease is uncontrolled, that it's progressive, and that's why it's so frightening as a condition. Sometimes I look at something like cancer, and the surgeons can go in and they give you the hopeful news that you want to receive afterwards, that all the cancer has been removed. And then you feel, okay, well, I'm cancer free until if or when it returns. And that's a good feeling. But with rheumatoid and these autoimmune inflammatory conditions, you kind of feel like goodness me, it's like with you forever working away at you in a negative way. And it's, it's just an awful, awful thought process. So you're in this mess, and you've got all this, and your husband's gone and got the Patterson program, and you've cleansed, and then so what was next? You started getting this consistent pain each day. You're on the baseline portion, the elimination phase. Yeah, what happened next?
So we stayed on the baseline for, I think it was 2 weeks was the required, and okay, we thought we'll try. I started with a 2-grain mix, just the quinoa and the buckwheat, and one day, because the amaranth hadn't arrived, I'd ordered it through Amazon and it not arrived, and so I thought, okay, let's try with the amaranth. It's one of the basic grains. And I had a huge reaction to the amaranth.
Wow.
Exactly. And my right hand just kind of, I had the pain in the center of my right hand was incredible. And by then I'd had quite a few days of having the pain reducing. And I was like, okay, so this system does work because I've just introduced something new and I've reacted. It might be something which for a lot of people it suits. Like up until today, I've not tried amaranth again because it frightened me so much. I'm sure I'd probably be fine with it now. But I was like, okay, this works. So I'm not going near amaranth again. But then slowly I started with the sweet potatoes and which were fantastic at the time, and just stayed with the grain mix and the greens. But then after a few weeks, that becomes difficult because you've been eating the same foods for a long time, and I wasn't able to consume enough of the greens. I was finding because my weight had dropped a bit, And so then my husband went onto your videos and he found a podcast where somebody had made the green smoothies. And that was life-changing again. And I would make a 1 liter of green smoothie and consume that every day for about 9 months.
Good.
1 liter of green smoothie for 9 months is a long time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was slowly introducing new foods to see then how I would do. But the green smoothie was a staple. It was, big change.
It's a big change, and it's absolutely a brilliant change, and it's also not, not an unpleasant thing to consume. I love green smoothies, and so whilst a liter of greens and fruit may not sound appetizing for people who are new to our channel or new to this concept, once your taste buds get used to it, and once you find the right combination that you like, the right fruits and the right greens, I love them. Like Melissa's been doing them again for me each afternoon, bless her, and I can't wait, for each one. It's delicious.
No, and that was a good way that I could have introduced papaya. So that was nice. I was getting some fruit in. And as lucky for me, the season had changed. The summer had come, so it's much easier to have a green smoothie in the summer in England by comparison to the winter, where it can get quite cold. But it was very socially acceptable. I can take along my green smoothie and go places, and it's fine if it's a picnic. I'm fine. I've got my smoothie. It's great, But it enabled me to start to go out and about again, and even if it was taking my own packed lunch with me, it was fine, but at least I was present rather than my husband having to take the children out on their own, mummy's at home not feeling well. So it kind of started my reintroduction into society, because I had for probably the best of 6 months just been at home, not being able to do much or go anywhere or see anybody. And then every time somebody did come and visit you, it was kind of like, oh, you're so unwell,
Yeah, you don't want to be seen. You want to hide.
You don't want to be exactly. Yeah, I'm a young person. I don't want to be this sick person that people haven't died and they're all coming to visit me. I haven't died yet.
That's right. It's crazy. No, I recall that, and throughout my years of experiments with the diet and the yoga and there's the really high inflamed years, all I wanted to do was show up. Because at the time my only income was stand-up comedy. I just wanted to show up to the gig, do the gig, go home, and then see no one again until my next gig. And prior to that, I was extremely social, I wanted to be the life of the party. I wanted to be doing crazy stuff and calling the boys at 2 a.m, come on, let's go to the next, So that, and of course, you just want to go inward. My dad always puts it well. He says, you look at animals when they're sick, and he often refers to the dogs that we have on our farm. He said, when a dog gets sick, it lies under the water tank, and it can stay there sometimes for 2 days. You won't even see the dog. It won't eat. It won't come out. And then it comes out, and it's perfect, right?
Yeah,
Goes in sick for 2 days under the water tank, and then it comes out and it's perfect. And he said that, and I often think of that because we're the same, we just want to go and get under the water tank and hide and then feel better and then come back out. And the dog, of course, when it's under the tank, it's not eating, it's fasting, right? It's getting well by resting.
It's getting well. Exactly, my physical symptoms were hugely improving. But because I was having these 1 liter smoothie every day, that was a major contributor. But towards the end of the summer, I found that my mental health was suffering. I was still feeling anxious, social anxiety. I was suffering from, kind of that reintroduction, seeing people, but then again, explaining what I've been doing and how I've been doing it. And then people are like, are you sure this is the way? Are you going to, it's nice to see you, hope you get better. And, but I was still, and so I went to see my GP. And she sent me for CBT, a group therapy for people with chronic conditions. My husband also found the Linden method through one of your podcasts as well. I did that program, and I slowly felt much better for it as well.
Tell us about
really
that.
Good.
Tell us about that, because the Linden method has really helped. Some of our members. Can you do a quick, 1 or 2 minutes, just a quick recap of what was involved, if it was expensive, can you do it at home, and how it helped you?
Yeah, well, you do it at home. You buy online, and it's a series of videos that you watch. And it's like a method of, I suppose, retraining your brain of how to deal with the social anxiety, and about how it's to do with your creative side. And I remember that was you've got this creative intelligence. It's that you are not this anxiety. And it was it's a long time ago now. But it was very, very helpful.
Right.
I can't remember how much it cost, but it was, we just bought it online, and it was a series of videos that I watched.
That's like a video course. A video course.
Yeah,
okay,
I think it was about six videos possibly.
Great.
But it slowly they progressed, and they taught you different ways of viewing things in life.
That's fabulous, and I can thank Jackie for that. She's a big fan of
that was found through your one of your podcasts, so
wonderful.
that was very helpful. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so good. So we're seeing the improvements now as the sort of chronological evolution evolves with your story. You're feeling better mentally, even though it's still challenging. You're probably getting some comments about your weight. Probably, how come we haven't seen you for so long? How come you're not eating? Why aren't you eating with us tonight? What's that green-looking Shrek juice that you got there?
Yeah. I'm going to a restaurant with my, packed lunch as well. And it was my father-in-law's birthday, and I had my packed lunch. They're very supportive. So, but I'm thinking, hiding it. I'm in the restaurant. They're going to be worrying why I've got my packed lunch with me.
Yeah, but God forbid you take a bite of the oily dinner, because it will just set you back a month. Or sometimes more.
Exactly. It's not worth the little bit.
Not worth it.
No, I have been extremely disciplined. I'm not cheated as such. Because I remember. I look back at how bad I was, and when you start to see yourself progress, you're too scared to go back to how you were. I always say, I'm never going to be like that again, never. I won't let it happen. And now because I know the solution, I know how to not go back. You stick with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's frightening, and you also get addicted to the highest nutrient dense foods, and you get really excited about putting into your body like super fuel, or basically premium petrol that you put at the gas station. It just gets exciting. You're like, what could I even do? Wow, let's add some sprouts to my salad with my green smoothie. And I can't even imagine the vibration of my energy. You know what I mean? It just becomes you want to almost take it to the highest possible level. So you're not only taking probiotics, but now you're doing sauerkraut. And what can we do? Well, let's put some other flavors in our sauerkraut. So you can become like a total. You can become very, very excited by the massive health that you can be providing. So that helps. Okay, what happened next?
What happened next? So February 2019, I saw my rheumatologist again, and she said I had gone into remission. So that was really nice. So that was within 1 year of starting the Paddison program. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. I never thought I'd see the day. Remission is, incredible. I can't beat that. I can't beat being in remission. That is, and that gave me more confidence. And she didn't impose any medication on me either. She said, whatever you're doing, stick with it. It's obviously working for you. Because I forgot about the hot yoga, which I had obviously with this green smoothies. I did plenty of hot yoga. I was doing it regularly 3 times a week. And then as I improved, I reduced it to twice a week. And now I kind of go ad hoc basis when I feel I need it, just want to kind of loosen up a bit.
Hey, we also forgot about the Plaquenil that you were on for only a short time as well.
Hydroxychloroquine.
I think that's Plaquenil.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah,
okay,
same
right.
thing. I find it hard to pronounce the other version. So yes, can you just remind the audience, because I remember from your private post to me, but can you tell the audience that you did go on that for a while?
Yes, it was just for 5 weeks because I was diagnosed on March the 13th. So immediately I started on the medication, and then 2 weeks later I started the Paddison program. So there was a 3-week overlap between the Paddison program and the medication. But then because I had seen such improvement with the Paddison program, I thought I'm going to drop the medication. And if the program doesn't work, I'll pick it up again later. I thought it's not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
I wanted to give the Paddison program a good chance first. And without anything else interfering, because I'd be in a situation now. Is it the Paddison program that's working, or is it the medication that's working? I wouldn't know.
And that's a
So
common question.
yeah,
People, in
yeah.
fact, someone else asked me inside Rheumatoid Support last night whether or not they should start the program at the same time as methotrexate. And there are a lot of subtle considerations that need to be taken into account, like the fact that the medication can take some time to begin. So that's one factor. Another variable is how much pain you're in. I mean, are you likely to need the medication anyway? And if that's the case, then will we need to throw everything at the situation regardless, based on her C-reactive protein, her physical symptoms and so forth, how medication adverse she is, how passionate she is about the interventions of the Paddison program, and whether or not it's something she's dragging her feet, or if she's raring to go and willing to do, like you did, a huge compliant approach with massive determination.
Really medication averse because I thought I'm too young to start on medication, because it will be then for the rest of my life. And when I looked at the leaflet and saw all the side effects, I was like, I can't be dealing with this. I'm not. And this is a last option. If it has to be that way, I want to try other things first.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep things as natural as possible. You hear stories about people being able to heal themselves. I thought, why can that not be possible? There's got to be another way. It's just a matter of finding the solution.
So
that's where you came in.
When you went back to the rheumatologist that 12 months later, the same one that said diet had no impact at all. And I don't know the answer to this. I'm not setting you up for this. But I don't imagine that that they were very interested in what you were doing, or even recall telling you that diet didn't matter and make an apology or anything. I imagine that it was just very much shrug and just whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it's like she made note that this lady is carrying on with what she's doing, and that's fine. And she's kind of said that, symptoms can come and go. That was the kind of approach. And she like, I'll see you again in a few months, and we'll see how things are then. So I was really convinced that it was a Paddison program that was working. She asked me a few questions, but it wasn't very. She wasn't digging in deep. But the rheumatology nurse, on the other hand, was extremely helpful. And she was very interested in what I was doing. And she said, you just carry on with it, don't worry. Because it's so nice to see a success story, it's and someone who is dealing well with the situation, because I'm sure she sees many people who are not dealing with it. And she was very, very supportive. So she was lovely. But like you say, the rheumatologist was kind of standoffish. Okay, we'll see where this goes.
It's unsettling.
Yeah.
It's unsettling because you basically, it's almost like they give you that kind of, you're doing well, wink, thinking you'll be back. You'll be back
exactly.
here, and my drugs will solve your problem.
Exactly.
Look, and I'm tongue in cheek, of course, because realistically, that is the case for so much of the people they see. And if you only see the same patterns repeat every single day, then you're going to be convinced of that's the way things are. And let's be real here. How many people actually want to live the way that you and I live right now? How many people want to restrict their diet to be plant-based and no oil and whole foods? Because we're going to hear about your diet in just a second. And you have advanced, like I do, to eat high-fat foods. You're eating nuts, you're eating avocados. So it's not a low-fat diet forever. It's a low-fat diet until you can eat the fat. That's all it is. If you can eat the fat on day 2, go for it.
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
are good
absolutely.
foods, right?
Yeah, you're
It's
very
just
lucky if you can.
yeah,
Day
it's
two.
uncommon, very uncommon. But if you can do low fat, it's not a low fat diet. It's a fat. It's a diet in which fat must be postponed until, as I said, until it doesn't need to be anymore. So, and so how many people can do it? How many people are interested in doing it? Well, it's stories like yours that need to be shared as much as possible so that people feel that it's worth trying. They need an
Yes.
example. And we're
Yeah.
building a huge number of examples, but we need a lot more because there's the scope of the size of the number of people who don't believe it's possible far outweigh the number of people who do. And
Yeah.
so, let's I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but so you've met with her now, and
Yeah.
she's given you this kind of like, well, you're doing great, keep it up.
Yeah.
And then you went away from there, and then what did you do next?
I continued with the reintroduction of foods, but I also started a lot of mindfulness, meditation. One guided meditation that I'd received from the chronic illnesses group, where I found very useful, and just my general interest in yoga increased and mindfulness, and so I was trying to stress management as much as possible, as well as reintroduction of foods. So then I went on to more grains. Like it took me a long time to even have white rice. I couldn't tolerate that for a long time. And then lentils, oats. Oats changed my summer after 2000. Summer 2019 was really, really incredible because of oats. It really uplifted my well-being, and I saw the oats were coming in and more fruits were coming in, frozen fruits. I found that I wasn't able to tolerate bananas, but if I froze it, I can eat it. I can make watermelon. I couldn't eat it fresh, but I froze it, I could eat it. Berries, raspberries in particular, I can't eat them fresh, but frozen, they're perfectly fine. And so that way I'm getting the nutrition as well and not having any reaction to it. And so all these foods came in over the summer. And then I had another appointment at the end of last year, so December 2019. And I saw the rheumatologist again, and I was going in there ready to see her with the mindset that, can I come and see you in a year's time now rather than every 6 months? So that was where I was at in my mind. And as I got in there, she kind of looked at my bloods and everything, and she goes, so what should we do now? I said, can it be longer until I come back? And she goes, we can discharge you. And kind of like, what? This is the ground opened, and I was like, this is amazing. Like I absolutely cannot believe it. She was happy. She said, I'm happy for you to be discharged because your anti-CCP has reversed. You're not, she checked, did a physical examination. I had no signs of any kind of inflammation anywhere. Obviously she could see from me generally that I've got no aches and pains. I literally zero symptoms. And so she goes, yeah, you're discharged, and that's it. You're free to go, free to live the rest of your life, pain-free, medication-free.
What a story.
That was incredible.
What a story. Yeah. She won't maybe say those words again because of the situation of her patient, potentially for the rest of 2020, potentially for the next several years. What she's observed with you and the turnaround that you've achieved is phenomenal and so uncommon. We hear it all the time on this podcast, on this show, right? And we start to think that can be therefore quite achievable for most people. It's not the case. It's a very, very, very long, hard road, and your story is very remarkable and fantastic. As I said, common on this podcast, extremely almost unheard of in outside of these the
rest of real life.
Real life. So that's amazing. I just want to touch upon a couple of things that you mentioned, and not to skim over them, because some people have probably has piqued their interest. One is the oats, and the other is the freezing the fruits. And I say them now, both of them at once, because I don't want it for us to forget one or the other. So the first one, the oats, I just want to comment on that. I too noticed a significant feeling of well-being after my morning meal changed from, and it did evolve from obviously the pseudo grain mix for a very long time, for over
that was
year.
Mine as well. Yeah.
And then honestly, I can't remember if I then actually started to have rice-based breakfasts, right? Which sounds really crazy again to Westerners, but in Japan, where I've been 5 times, they have rice for breakfast every morning. So it's not a crazy thing. It's not like wrong for the human body. It's just we get into habits of when we eat certain foods.
Yeah, absolutely.
Japan, rice for breakfast, you're kidding me. That's normal, right? And so I can't remember if I started having, my what I call mega miso meal.
Yeah.
So it's, I can't remember if I was doing that for breakfast for a period of time, or whether or not I just continued with the pseudo grain mix for much longer and then shifted to oats. But when oats came into my diet, which was about 2 years after starting sort of the pseudo grain, a very long time, I definitely noticed health improvements, not just symptom improvements, but a feeling of more sustained sort of metabolism, or not metabolism, but sustained energy levels. Just a feeling of strength came back more.
Yes.
Digestion felt good. Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out, because it's been a long time since I've mentioned that. And I didn't particularly seek out gluten-free oats either. I didn't make sure it was gluten-free.
Yeah, mine are regular Scottish oats.
Right. And in a pure form, oats are gluten-free, but they get contaminated easy from cross crops, winds blow, and you get a little bit of other, you might get some wheat that gets small parts get into the processing and so forth, and into the silos and into the end up into your food. But interesting, you also did not seek out a specifically gluten-free claim.
But when I did do the oats, it was my 3rd attempt that it was successful. I had tried oats when I was been on the program for about 6 months. I thought, let me try oats. And I think I was knocked out for 3 days, is what my husband could describe it. It was a real hit, and I wasn't expecting it because I'd been doing so well for so many months. I thought, how bad can it be with the oats? But they were, and then I was really scared to reintroduce them. So this was my 3rd attempt with the oats. Even with the white rice, it was on my 2nd attempt that it was successful. But now because I could get those oats, I think it made taking on lentils and pulses much easier as well, because they had been rejected a couple of times as well earlier on in the process. So in the summer I started the oats, and then by the winter I was having all the lentils, all the pulses, all the beans, and that was about the same time as I had been discharged. So, and I felt strong. I felt much more resistant, and just like I say, 10 years younger. That's I genuinely felt that then, that this it's an RA was kind of a nightmare and it's over. Especially the fact that I got discharged, I kind of felt I don't have it anymore, and I was more open to trying. Not everything, but when I was trying things, I was really open about trying it, like mentally thinking that my body should accept this, I will be fine. You don't have that fear as much as you have earlier on, because you get quite a lot of rejection in the early stages. But by this time, I was like, my body should be able to handle this. I feel strong. I'm doing everything. I have so much healing has happened along the way that I can take this.
Isn't it interesting?
So oats were amazing.
It's interesting. You talk about, the feeling of being discharged. It's almost like you've been released. You've given yourself this change of definition as to what your life is about and what condition you do or don't have. And you have just basically deeply at a cellular level decided, now I'm a strong, healthy person. I'm no longer seeing that particular medical professional, and my blood markers are showing me clearly that I'm a healthy person now. And
Yeah.
gosh, that's empowering. And thank you also for mentioning that it took you 3 goes to get the oats. And
Yeah.
I just want to remind our audience that oats, just like wheat, barley, and all the cereal grains, are a huge and well-known trigger for RA in the medical published literature. That's something that we should not be eating once we, realize that we have food sensitivities and stuff. And this is the fascination I have with oats, or the sort of the love affair that I have with them, is that once you can get to a point where you can tolerate the oats, then it's a huge kind of indicator of where you're at digestively, because it's almost like a weight at the gym. You can't lift the weight. It's too heavy. But the day you can lift that weight, then your body, as a result of lifting that weight, then builds, because it's now getting much stronger, because now it lifts that particular weight at the gym, which is the oats. And then it becomes better at everything. Then it's just like it's this powerhouse of digestion. It's like the oats are so helpful. So
it's a real milestone.
It is. It's a huge milestone, and it's a threshold. You can't tolerate it. You can't tolerate it, but then when you can, it supports you. It's incredible. It's an incredible phenomenon.
But it's still my daily practice. If a day I've missed porridge and had toast instead, it's the day is not going to work out as well. I've got to have porridge every day, and it's 1 cup of porridge, half a liter of oat milk. So it's a good portion of oats as well. And that's what my body wants. That's what it needs.
Mm-hmm. Hey, can I ask? If for curiosity, do you then snack mid-morning, or does your breakfast get you through to lunch, and does your lunch also carry you through to dinner?
Oh, it gets me through to lunch. I don't snack after that, and it's normally I have about 7:30 in the morning when I'm doing the kids' breakfasts, and then I don't then eat till midday.
See, that's another good insight, right? These subtle. My question is not just it leads to nowhere. These subtleties can be transformative to people who are looking for the next breakthrough, because I also found that eating a big meal and then less snacking, then a big meal, less snacking, seemed to work much better pain-wise and inflammation reduction-wise than eating all the time. Because I just feel that, you just have your digestive system is just taking a break, isn't it?
Yeah. And then also you don't have to think about what do I need to eat next, in the next hour or so. You're fueled up for some time to get on with the rest of life. It's not just about RA and food.
Yeah, exactly. And if someone's not at that point yet because they can't eat the oats yet and they need to have the pseudo-grain mix, which can't fill you up enough for most people to get you through to lunch, then have your snack. Have your green smoothie, have some fruit, whatever it is. But there's some advantages in being more advantages even than what with the oats in the morning. Yeah. And the other question, other question I had for you: what's up with the freezing the fruit? I've never heard of this before.
What happened is that my mum was pre-diabetic, and she went to a course, and they suggested freezing bread to make it more digestible. There's something in the chemistry. It does something to the sugars. And she said, why don't you try freezing some fruit? And for the children, because they don't eat ice cream generally much now anymore, because we're dairy free. Our household is more or less dairy free now anyway, plant based. And so to give them a summer treat, I started freezing some sliced watermelons. And one day I was like, oh, they look really good. I want to try one. So I just by accident, I had one and I had no reaction to it. I thought, this is great. It's like ice cream, and it's a hot day, nice cold piece of frozen watermelon is great. And I thought, let me try some other fruits. And I do some nice cream for them with frozen bananas. So I had a bit of that. No reaction. I was like, oh, this is wonderful. So let me try some berries. And the raspberries, they were great, but for some reason, blueberries and strawberries I still can't have. I can feel the difference. Mm-hmm. The slight low grade twinge here or there. Nothing to kind of stop my day, but I know that something is on my radar. So I've got no understanding of what the real science is behind it, but it works for me. So
I'll have to ask my friends. My friends Robbie and Cyrus over at Mastering Diabetes, I'll ask them because they might have
The
These
answer.
guys are just experts at blood glucose levels and insulin resistance. I mean,
Yeah.
if they will have an answer as to why.
Yeah, because I still can't eat a banana as it is, which I love bananas. So I'm hoping
Right.
one day I might be able to.
Yes, yes. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, what an enjoyable chat. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story
Thank you
with us.
very much. Thank you for sharing yours. Otherwise, I would not have had this story without you. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And, like Melissa said, if we can just help one person by putting this
Yeah,
information out there, it'll be a worthwhile endeavor. And, I can't wait to tell her she's off with the kids at the moment. And when she gets back, I'll tell her, some highlights from your wonderful story. And as I say to everyone at the end of these happy sort of positive stories chats, the enemy now is only complacency, right? So we can never allow the complacency to set in. Do not eat oil at a restaurant. Do not begin to start putting oils on your salad. You're not going to become omega-3 deficient if you don't put oils on your salads, okay?
Yeah.
We live the life of pi. We're living with a wild animal. And the moment that we start to just think, oh, it's normal to live with a wild animal and you can start to mess with it, its instincts attack and things can go wrong. So we don't want that. We want to keep the train on the tracks, and to do so, we need to remain on, not to take any crazy risks. And so I don't think you're going to do that. You've seen how bad things can be.
Exactly. I'm not going back there.
But it's my duty of care.
I've got a new life. I wouldn't mess it up.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. And I went, and just before we hit record, your husband set up the computer there, and I can see how supportive.
He's been incredible. I couldn't have done it without him. Every step of the way. The research, like finding the hot yoga, finding the Linden method, supporting me. Just this diet is not easy to do, on a logistics kind of way when you've got a young family. He's been there throughout. I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, I can tell that he's just so caring, and he just, I can just see how he wanted to say thanks and hi and stuff. I could see he's sort of what's the word? Very present, really present, and I could tell. Yep. What I think's just upon reflection, just before we say bye, you have incorporated all aspects of the required healing path. Whilst we did talk a lot about diet, you talked about the emotional side of things, the mindset side of things, the support side of things, the exercise side of things, the medications you took for a little while, and would have gone back there had you have needed to. You were prepared to. So, all of these pieces of the puzzle you engaged with wasn't like you just decided just to change what you're eating and nothing else changed. No, you changed everything, and that's what's needed.
Yeah. Well, I'm next week. I'm actually just about to start yoga teacher training. So I have really changed my whole life. Yoga has done so much for me as well as you, and now it's mine. Like I say, if I can help one person, it's been worth it. It's been worth it.
Isn't it a great ripple effect? Helping is contagious. I got goosebumps again just now. Helping is contagious. And so a takeaway message to anyone who enjoyed this episode is, who can you help? Who can you help? It feels good. Go and help someone, because helping someone else helps you tenfold. It's like giving a gift.
Hugely.
You know what it feels like when you give a gift and you watch that person's life. Persons when they're opening the gifts. And so we all have a gift to offer, regardless of where we're at on our own healing journey. Some people don't even know what a green smoothie is. We can all share how that can be done to someone else.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I have on many occasions.
All right. Well, with that in our mind, let's say goodbye, and I look forward to chatting with you more inside rheumatoid support. Not that you'll need much of my help. So I really want to thank you again.
Thank you.